Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
And thanks for joining us for another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, and in a moment we'll be joined by our interim city manager, John Fitzpatrick. As usual, in the first half of today's show, we'll have some municipal news updates, including news and notes from city departments and some things happening in the Oshkosh area. In the second half, we'll highlight items from the upcoming Tuesday, January 28th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. And with that, we bring in our interim city manager, John Fitzpatrick. So John, thanks for joining us today. Glad you could be here.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
All right, well, we have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of different topics, and we're starting off with some information about a new system that is being put into operation for parking management for the city, and this also is a new system that our residents will be utilizing as part of the component of it. So if you could tell us what this system is. It's called the Passport system.
Sure. I think for people that have been following some of the initiatives that we've been working on here with the city, we're constantly looking at trying to improve circumstances for our citizenry and the traveling public. So there's been some dialogue about taking a look at a variety of different things. Overnight parking regulations, parking is always a concern, and so this is a system that's been researched by our staff that will allow us to streamline the parking process for residents, but also help with our permitting process, with enforcement. It's an automated system where users can easily go online, apply for, purchase, manage their parking permits digitally, and then they can eliminate their need to have more in-person visits. And it also minimizes our paper-based systems that we had in the past.
Right,
so I think it's going to be something that the citizenry is really going to like, and I know it's going to make the jobs that people have with enforcement, permitting, and our finance and police department a lot easier too.
Sure. And as you mentioned, I know that this is part of an overall process that has been discussed and staff have been working on to improve processes, and this is just one facet of that.
Right. This is just one example of many that staff are working on.
Yeah, and this new system will be implemented beginning the week of January 27th. And my understanding is that there will be a little bit of a transition time immediately before that, where some different procedures might be in place as far as residents. They will be referred to how to handle payments and such on the city's website.
That's right.
And if they visit the city's website, the information will be there. But this new system will go online on January 27th.
And I know also, Andy, that there's going to be some press releases that are going to be provided, by the company that we're working with, but also Oshkosh Media will follow up and provide additional information for our citizenry.
Exactly. Okay, then we also want to provide some news regarding elections, and one of our polling places, there's a need to change the location for the upcoming spring elections, and that's due to some construction that is taking place over at Sacred Heart School, and we're talking about District 13 polling site.
That's right. It looks like we have a graphic that's up on the screen right now. So for those people that live in that neighborhood of District 13, the new temporary location is going to be the Oshkosh Senior Center South Building, and that's located at 200 North Campbell Ave. This change will be effective beginning with the primary election on February 18th, and it'll last through the spring election on April 1st, 2025. And as you said, Andy, it's due to the construction that they're working on at Sacred Heart School over on Knapp Street. And as with all the elections, there are a variety of voting alternatives that people can also explore.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about those?
Sure, yeah. As folks know, may be familiar with, that there is in-person early voting available, that is in-person absentee voting, and voters can opt to go to a polling place that is over at Irving Avenue, they can vote early at that location. The dates will be announced when that is available.
Right.
That will be available on the city's website. And also absentee voting by mail is available. And so our residents can contact the city clerk's office for absentee ballots, and they can mail that ballot in. There is also information available on the My Vote Wisconsin website for complete details, and also to verify the resident's polling place. So there's a lot of information there.
Right. I think it just makes it a lot easier if people take a look at some of that stuff before they go out.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have any additional questions, they can always call the city clerk's office.
Right. 920-236-5011 if you have any questions about elections or would like to learn a little bit more. And also the My Vote Wisconsin website also provides a lot of information about voting and what is on the ballot as well. All right. Then, John, we wanted to also talk about, although our tax bills have been sent out, and the deadline for payment is actually coming up on January 31st, we thought it would be helpful to reiterate a little bit more information about tax bills and just to provide some information.
Sure. People are aware that we had a reevaluation that took place last year, and that's required by law when the distinction between the values and what is allowed reaches a certain threshold. Mm-hmm. So because it reached that threshold, we were required to do a revaluation. Mm-hmm. And so after we went through that process, residential bills rose more than anticipated for the 2024 real estate tax bills. Mm-hmm. So just some facts associated with this that I think might be helpful for people to understand. I know you've spoken about it in the past, but just to reiterate those, the average residential assessment increase was approximately 70 to 75%. Mm-hmm. And the average commercial assessment increase was approximately 25 to 30%. Mm-hmm. So because residential housing costs have escalated more rapidly than commercial costs, this caused the average assessment to increase by about 50%. Mm-hmm. And any property that had an assessed value increase over 50% saw an increase in the city portion of their tax bill. Mm-hmm. So, in regard to the main reason, I touched on it a little bit. Part of it is the supply and demand of the housing market.
Right.
I think we all know that for people that are looking for homes, it's very difficult to find those because of the supply has been suppressed. Mm-hmm. And
then tied in with that,
right,
the value.
Because, it's a part of it is a factor of supply and demand. Mm-hmm. Housing values have really escalated. Mm-hmm. For anybody, I know my kids are dreaming of trying to buy a house someday, but the costs are, at least right now, they're out of their reach. Mm-hmm. So because that circumstance exists, that affects the value of homes and people's homes that they own, which also then in turn affects the reevaluation process. And then because our tax system is tied to that, that's part of the rationale for the increase in the tax bills.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in response to this knowledge that we would have a tough cycle this year, the Common Council was proactive in working on their budget for 2025.
They did. The Common Council, they have a difficult responsibility. They try to manage the desires of the community and still be respectful of the impacts of the decisions they make. Mm-hmm. So, I have to give them a little credit in terms of their efforts to try to minimize the impact to the community. And so they try to temporarily adjust the tax rate so it provided somewhat of a relief for some folks who were going to be impacted by the reevaluation and the increase in the tax rates. So it's, even though they did take those actions, the majority of property owners still saw an increase. And one thing that I know has been talked about, and I think it's a bit of a misnomer, just to manage people's expectations going forward, there will be another evaluation during this year. We'll need to take a look at the commercial level, and it has to fall within a certain threshold that the state establishes. And coupled with that, a residential evaluation will also be done. I think there's been some dialogue out there that when that's done, there'll be some correction, and that property taxes will go down for residents. I don't think it's appropriate to suggest that because we just don't know.
There are a lot of variables.
There are a lot of variables, and as we discussed earlier, residential value for properties is rising at a higher rate than commercial. So if that continues, it's not going to reverse the overall pie and who pays what share, commercial and residential. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens as part of that process. But there will be another evaluation this year, and then we'll see what the outcome is as a result of that.
Sure. Well, appreciate that insight and a little bit more background information. We also just wanted to remind folks that there are options and payment locations available. A Community First Credit Union, 3 locations. Associated Bank, 2 locations. Or, of course, at City Hall, which is 215 Church Avenue. And you may also utilize the drop box that is in front of the City Hall front door. And there are also online payments available if you visit the City of Oshkosh website.
So, Andy, in regard to options too, you were talking about the payment locations, but also for folks that are having difficulty this tax cycle or any tax cycle, there are options for them to explore installment payments. And so that's something the city has provided for quite some time. So we would encourage them to contact the finance office if they have any questions or they'd like to inquire further about what might be possible for them.
Yeah, and I know the finance department is very happy to assist and to answer any questions.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, then also, John, I know both you and I are dog lovers,
Yes.
and so we have a topic here that's kind of fun. We had our city behavioral health officer, Scott Zapata, and Canine Gemma. They kicked off this year's Coffee with a Cop series, and they visited some of the local schools, and they brought, as we can see, they brought Canine Gemma along. And I know there's some background about Scott Zapata's family with their dog there with Gemma, but we can just make mention about what happened as far as Coffee with a Cop.
Right. Coffee with a Cop is a great program that Oshkosh Police Department has applied to a variety of different schools and other businesses in the community, and the idea is for them to try to get to know people in a situation where it's not an emergency. So oftentimes when police are interacting with people in our community, it can be scary, especially for children. And it's important, I think, for the citizens to understand that our police officers are humans. They're family members, community members, just like everybody else that lives in our community and around our community. So they want to provide another opportunity to get to know them in a more comprehensive way, not just when they're dealing with an emergency.
Right, and build those relationships.
Absolutely,
right,
yes.
Right. And, I was alluding to it, but folks might not realize that the canine officers actually live with their handler, their officer that works with them.
Right. Just a little background, and I think it's a good segue to what we were talking about the human nature of our police officers and all our employees, but more specifically with our police officers. The police officers that are assigned to K-9, they really open up their home to the the K-9 animals that we have. And a little bit of a sad story associated with this. I know Scott and his family also managed a K-9 that we had called Magic that unfortunately passed away. And so they housed Magic in their home, and they now house Gemma in their home. Their family members get to know this dog, and it's a real difficult circumstance for this family when, as I mentioned, unfortunately Magic passed away because they developed these relationships. And fortunately, Scott and his family were willing to take on this additional assignment with Magic. As difficult as it was, with Gemma, as difficult as it was with Magic. And we're grateful for that. And I think the community is grateful for that because I really think it's a good program, and it provides an opportunity for people to connect a little bit more easily with our officers because, as you said, you and I are dog lovers, and I think there are a lot of people in the community that feel comfortable when they can interact with somebody like Gemma.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, and that is important, and it's another aspect to policing that gives a lot of depth to our Oshkosh Police Department and what they are able to offer for our residents.
Absolutely. There are people may not realize how highly trained these dogs are. That they can do a whole variety of different things that our ordinary officers it may be difficult for them to accomplish. They're trained in all kinds of different rescue initiatives, in investigative techniques that they have that humans don't have, with their scent abilities. So they really are valuable members of the police department, and I think they, as we talked about, provide a gateway for people to get to know our officers in a different way when they're not having to deal with a real emergent instant situation. So we really very much appreciate them and think that they're a very important part of the services that we provide to the community.
Right. Well, and speaking of services provided to the community, actually our Parks Department is active year-round, not just in the summertime. They are providing a winter ice skating venue for residents over at Menominee Park Zoo.
Right, yes. I think the last several years we haven't had the opportunity to really enjoy that. The citizenry hasn't.
It's been too warm.
You're right, exactly. But I know people don't necessarily look forward to cold weather, but when it comes, there are some good things that can happen as a result of that. And winter skating is one of them at Menominee Park. We've had this partnership for quite some time with Dr. Eric. He's a doctor in the community that helps sponsor the skate club that exists there. And it looks like we got some pictures of some folks in the community, some kids enjoying that. And this is the first year, I don't know, Andy, in probably maybe 2-3 years where we've had some good ice for ice skating.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So I'm sure kids are enjoying that. Maybe not when it's as cold as it's been the last couple days, but I think some of these more moderate temperatures are really going to be great weather for getting out there on the ice. Not only kids, but parents and maybe even some grandparents too. So,
sure, absolutely. As we mentioned, that rink is inside Menominee Park Zoo, and that is open on Saturdays and Sundays from noon until 4 p.m. And as you mentioned, John, with free ice skate rentals from Dr. Eric's Skate Club. So that is a great opportunity. Also, the Lake Fly Cafe will serve as a warming shelter for the skaters on the weekends as well.
I think they have some hot chocolate in there and some other concessions you can take advantage of. And when you're there, because we have some extended Menominee Park Zoo hours, you can also take in some of those things during the week. I think it's open, Andy, Monday through Friday from 10 to 2, is that right?
That's right, 10 to 2 on weekdays. Just a side note though, that those skate rentals are not available on the weekday hours, and the Lake Fly Cafe is not available on the weekday hours.
Okay.
But the skating is available.
Got it.
So folks can take advantage of that opportunity over at the Menominee Park Zoo.
Good.
And of course, for more information about any of this, including if there is a closure due to bad weather or what it might be, the Menominee Park, I believe it's called Menominee Park and Zoo Facebook page.
Got it.
So folks can check that and get some more information there.
Good. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. And another exciting thing coming up as far as good things to do in the winter, our Oshkosh Public Museum is always a phenomenal place to visit. And actually, a little bit of an incentive for folks is that they are having a free admission day on February 15th.
Right. I think it'd be a good way for people to get out. I know people are always looking for things to do during the winter, and I think this is a great opportunity to get out of the house, check out the museum. This event is in celebration also of the auxiliary's 100th anniversary in 2025.
That's right.
So I know they have they'll have some information about history, contributions, commitment, support of the Oshkosh Museum over the years. I think they have some video presentations they have planned, and also some special exhibits. Right?
That's right. So folks can see exhibits including Nature as Muse, also Tiffany treasures from the Richard R. Dryhouse Museum, as well as the encore presentation of the exhibition Helen Farnsworth Mears, A Genius of Wisconsin. And that is all available on Saturday, February 15th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Right. I think also we were talking about snacks and concessions earlier. I think they also are going to have those available in the Galena room of the museum's lower level. So
that's right.
People can check that out as well.
Coffee, tea, punch cake, and some other treats that are made by the museum auxiliary members. So we encourage you to stop by the museum on February 15th.
And we also appreciate the auxiliary support of the efforts of the Oshkosh Public Museum.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Okay, one other item that we wanted to mention, John, is that we are busy here at Oshkosh Media with a new format, a new platform that we are reaching our residents with, and that is podcasting.
Right.
And so our newest podcast is called Let's Talk Events. Our viewers might recall that we had previously done a television program called Let's Talk Events, but this is a re-envisioned version of it as a podcast. And so yours truly meets up as hosts with our special events coordinator, Kathy Snell, and we talk events about what's going on in the community and some highlights for residents.
Right, yes. I think for people that may not know it, Kathy Snell has been our special events coordinator. We kind of view her as a concierge for the city because she helps special event organizers navigate some of the things that need to be put in place for us to establish a safe and fun special event for our citizenry. So she does a great job with that, and I think this is something that is just another additional thing that Oshkosh Media is foraying into. I know people are very excited to access podcasts. They can listen to them at their own convenience. And I know you're too modest to talk about some of the other initiatives that we've put in place over the years, but we started out primarily with public access television, but I know you were instrumental in getting us our low power FM channel. 101.9 that just helps us broadcast music and other programming to our city limits. I know you're also very active in helping us produce social media and provide information to the community that way, and work with other people that extend that information from other departments. And I think podcast is just another venue, another way to convey information to the public about what's going on with the city.
Absolutely, and we're happy to offer that, and people can learn more through our oshkoshmedia.org website, and link to us from there. All right, John, we wanted to transition into looking at some highlights from the agenda items from the upcoming Tuesday, January 28th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. And kind of diving right in here, we had an item, we are granting privilege in the street for a statue, and this is over by where the former Oshkosh Northwestern newspaper building was.
It is. It isn't often that we talk about right-of-way privileges on city manager report, but it's a little noteworthy because it's my understanding that there's going to be a statue of a pig, a truffle pig, that's going to be placed there in the right-of-way. It's an exception to what we ordinarily do, but it's in concert with the proposed development that is planned there for the old Oshkosh Northwestern building. And for people that have had an opportunity to be inside that building when it was the Oshkosh Northwestern, it's just a fabulous, unique example of some very special kind of architecture that exists there. And I don't know completely what's planned for what I understand is going to be a boutique hotel, but I believe it's going to be very special. So this, in a way, is a little bit of a teaser to just stay tuned and see exactly how that all manifests itself. But this exception and the statue in the right-of-way is just one of the very first steps to realizing that that new venue downtown.
Sure, it's great to see that these things are being preserved and improved. That's
Absolutely,
great.
yes.
All right, then we also wanted to point out that the county is doing some improvements at the Sunnyview Expo Center.
Right, I think they certainly want to make sure that people can access and understand, all the options that are available to them through Sunnyview. So the county is trying to put on its best face for the community there. I think it's something that they've been thinking about for a long time, and I think it'll be a nice improvement to that site.
Sure. All right, and then under our new resolutions, we have an item looking at the design of that intersection at Sawyer Street and Oshkosh Avenue, which I think a lot of residents are very happy to see a redesign.
That's right, yeah. I think for people that have gone through that intersection over time, it's very unique. Citizens talk to me about, they kind of affectionately refer to it as kind of the purgatory intersection, because there's a section where you can get kind of stuck in the middle of it as you're traveling east and west on Oshkosh Avenue there. So when we were working on the Oshkosh Avenue redevelopment and the Oshkosh Corporation development, we saw an opportunity to redo this intersection, and the revenue that's generated because of those developments is going to help fund this intersection improvement that I think people are very interested in seeing have happen.
Okay, very good. And John, we have about 30 seconds left, but I know that there's been a lot of discussion about the Menominee Park train, and there's some continued discussion about it.
There is. It's going to be on the agenda. I think that Parks Director Maurer has talked to me and the Finance Director about how we could just fund the repairs to the train without incurring additional tax dollars. So we're going to ask the council to approve this use of ARPA interest to get us to a point where the train could be operational, and then we're still going to have to explore additional funding mechanisms through the community and for primarily operations, and this will give us time to seek that funding.
Okay. Well, John, it's been a great show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on the City Managers Report.